somebody who's unsuspecting. Oh, yeah, it does.
Okay. Hey guys, a few clips there from last week from Meow Wolf, a museum in Santa Fe, unlike anything I've ever seen. If you're ever up there in northern New Mexico, I definitely recommend checking that out. Well, anyway, we got a little bit of a late start, starting here 2 hours late because of some work I had to do over last night, and I kind of overslept. But let's head right into things. Kind of a cool day here in this part of Texas. You can see we've had lots of 60s, but 70s up to the north. Things are pretty much warm everywhere except the northeast U.S. as usual. And as you all know, that's due to that northwesterly flow. And there you can see the temperatures there. Warm in the central Canadian region, so that's going to pretty much outline maybe something like a ridge over western and central Canada, and then a bit of troughing out in the east coast like that. And the 500 millibar chart shows the ridge has pushed a little bit further east than expected. So it's actually, instead of over the western Canadian region, looks like it's over the Great Lakes area. Some very strong troughing showing up off the west coast there. So that's really changing the picture there in California, Oregon, and Washington. And here's what the satellite looks like. You can see one little disturbance coming across Texas here. So we're getting some showers along the I-35 corridor. Then you can see the next system coming on shore here in California. So kind of a split appearance. Southern California here, and then a more northern system up in Oregon and Washington. Thermal analysis looking like this. You can see the ridging across the central U.S., but underlaid in that, some evaporational cooling, some dynamic lift, adiabatic cooling going on in Texas, and that's keeping the values down in this area right here. High pressure across the Great Lakes, so lots of cold air advection in this region right here, and the cold front is pretty much south of Florida, maybe extending into Texas as a warm front. And then that boundary probably recedes, and then we pick up the next boundary in California. So maybe I'm going to go something like that. Possibly a occluded front up into the Astoria, Quileute region of Washington, and then south of that, probably a triple point in the central San Joaquin Valley of California there. And let's take a look at the upper air page. And we're looking at UCAR because University of Wyoming, they've got some weird problems that go on. As you can see when I look at their sounding page, sometimes it just comes up blank for some reason. I have no idea why. So we're going to use UCAR, and the good thing is we do get kind of like a color sounding with them. And here's Fort Worth, taken about 3 hours ago. And you can see the column is pretty much saturated all the way up. And we see a frontal inversion up at about 925 millibars, so that's going to be up about 3,000 feet. So we know that there's a frontal surface up at that level, and above that, some tropical air. And looks like the good moisture extends all the way up to about maybe 10 to 15,000 feet here. And you can see very good turning of the low-level flow. If we had a little bit more instability, we would probably be watching for supercells. And you see that on the sounding right here, very good turning. And let's see what else. Let's try Corpus Christi. You can see we kind of lose the frontal inversion down there. Much warmer along the Texas Gulf Coast, and above that we have the subsidence inversion. So this is kind of like a cap here. and above that some cirrus. And you can see a little bit of that curving of the hodograph. And let's try going way up north to Topeka. Much drier up there. Very strong subsidence inversion and very dry low levels. And just for something unusual, let's take a look at Pittsburgh. Wow, very cold. The sounding, instead of being way over here, is shifted well over to the left. So we have a very cold column and very dry air. Okay, I tried bringing up AWIPS. This is the tool that the Weather Service office has used to forecast. And we haven't looked at this because they've had some old products online. I'll try to see if I can get the vorticity to come up. That'll probably take just a second to load. We'll come back to that in a minute. And we'll use the vorticity from Meteostar. Okay, so there's tonight's chart. We can see strong dynamics along the Central Pacific coast coming inland. And where's the jet? Do you see the jet? Well, one way you can find that is the stronger packing of the height lines. The height lines are pretty much exactly equivalent to pressure. So very weak pressure gradient out here, very strong pressure gradient here. So you can find the tighter packing, and that's going to bring the jet in through here. And of course, you can use the wind plots. So we see we have 90 knot winds in the Gulf of Alaska right here, 60 knot winds here around Boise. And then the other signature we can use is high vorticity on the left side and anticyclonic vorticity on the right side. So that'll place the jet kind of like this. And like I showed you yesterday, you can use the vorticity to find little jet streaks that are kind of off-center, like right here. See the 50-knot flow here from Salt Lake City to Rapid City, probably a separate jet down there. And that's going to be tough to find if you're just using your observed data. So you see kind of a double appearance right there. And embedded in that pattern, some advection lobes. There's one in Texas and another around Chihuahua. So those are moving through the flow and giving us some of this upper level lift. Okay, let's check out our vorticity. Has this come up? No, 26 February. You can see they've still got old data on their servers here, so that's not good. But I will try to bring up their radar. Sometimes that differs, and we'll give that a shot there. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, we can take a look at the 850 millibar temperature and relative humidity. This is a chart we don't really look at very much, but we can use this to find our fronts. So let's see, that's pretty messy. Maybe I can bring up the continental U.S. Let's do that. Okay, we've zoomed in a little bit on the U.S. right there. Red lines are going to be isotherms. So you see those red lines, red dashed line isotherms. And then the green is going to be relative humidity. So let's start out with our basic temperature analysis. We know that there's a front along the Oregon coast. And you see that we do have a thermal gradient in this area right here. So that supports a front in that area. And these fronts tend to show up a lot better in the mid-levels than they do at the surface. So maybe we'll go with something like that for the front, maybe even a little bit further ahead. And then maybe the 850 front, kind of like that across the Winnemucca to Salt Lake City area. And then north of that, it's going to be the occluded front. Now, to a certain extent, we can use that to find the front in Texas. So maybe we would go something like this here. I know that's just off the bottom here. Let me move that just a bit. There we go. So that's probably kind of what's going on in Texas. It's certainly supported by the thermal field, and you can see some of that overrunning going on in South Texas right there. So yeah, if we're going from 12 to 6 Celsius at 850, that's going to support isentropic lift in this area. And then certainly another front in the Midwest. See this here? Yeah, that's definitely a 850 front. Well, since it's an upper front, we can go hollow for these pips right here. So yeah, front at 850, basically from Paducah up to the Quad Cities and then up to Fargo. And then, yeah, isentropic lift just north of that. So probably some clouds, low-level clouds in this area right here. Okay, let me take a quick look at chat. Kind of a light crowd here because of the unexpected late delays. Fred checking in, and Mike is here, and Mike is in Denver. Kevin McKinney, Mark Davis, Panda Lover 421, Winter back in Michigan. Yeah, probably getting some of that isentropic lift. Geo Nerd is here from Arizona. Fun with Tech is here. A bit of Arabic showing up here, so unfortunately I can't read that. But good to have you here. Ryan Tomies, once again from South California. Larry Ullman was the system admin at University of Wyoming. Have to give him a shout. Sounds good there. Sue M checking in, and Mike asks if I'm using AWIPS Cave through Unidata. Yeah, I am. Okay. Yeah, let's check back on that, see if we have any radar data. Wow, looks like I got a mess here. Look at all that. Let's see here. Let me clear all that, and I'll give the radar data one more try, and then we'll be done with that. Well, can't get it to work at all. Okay, well, we'll give that a shot some other day. Anyway, let's head into the forecast here. Oh, yeah, there's some of the radar right there. You can see the heavier showers along the coast near Brownsville, just east of Corpus Christi, and then just kind of light showers here in this part of Texas, mostly elevated right now, because there is a lot of dry air in place across the Central Plains out in here. Okay, heading into the forecast, we've taken a pretty good look at the surface and low-level conditions. So we know that there's a front at 850 in this area right here. And you remember I kind of recited the cities. I said Paducah to Quad Cities and Fargo. So you can use that to kind of help you remember where the fronts are. So that's the 850 millibar front, and then the surface front, that's going to be a little bit further to the south, kind of like that. So that's going to stack down towards the warm air to the south and upward towards the cold air to the north. So the 700 millibar front is probably going to be up in this area here. Okay, so laying down the fronts, let's see. I'm going to go with something like that. Kind of a mess here, but that goes through Nevada and then into the San Joaquin Valley. That's going to be the polar front, and then we have this other old front in Texas. Probably something like that. Okay, so for our webcast tomorrow night, Sunday, that's usually our busiest night for the meteorology lab. We're going to see the main cold front, a little bit of frontogenesis there in the Las Vegas Desert Rock area into the southern San Joaquin Valley. Good cold air advection back behind that. And we're going to see that come through the southern Rockies during the day on Monday. So you see that emerging there and then coming into the plains for our webcast on Monday night. Very good cold air advection back in behind that. And this here, this is probably the cold core low coming out of Oregon and Idaho. So lots of instability in this area right here. If we had a lot more moisture and warmth, this would be a good place to find cold core supercells and low top supercells. Okay, then for Tuesday, we're going to see that polar front push south through Texas. Looks like some thunderstorms overnight in the Red River area into Arkansas. Then for a webcast on Tuesday, looks like storms for the southern U.S., and we'll probably try to do some specials on that day on Tuesday. Then for Wednesday, looks like things improve. High pressure moving into the southeast U.S., anticyclonic flow bringing cold air advection into the eastern U.S., and then setting up warm air advection for Texas and Oklahoma. Then for Thursday, next system comes in from the west. Let me move the chart so you can see that a little bit better. Looks very stormy there for Canada. And for Friday's webcast, most of that is probably going to be down to the south. Front coming in through Oregon into California there. Frontogenesis kind of in this area. And then another weekend system for California into the central U.S., kind of like that. Wow, looks like a winter storm there for Ontario and Quebec. So you see that right there. Out into the New Hampshire, New England, Maine area right there. Good downslope system here for Texas, probably active dry line in this area. And the very strong westerly component that's probably going to scour out some of the moisture and keep that well to the west or to the east. Then for Sunday, it moves pretty quickly off to the east, and we get the next system coming south. A little bit of moisture making its way up through Louisiana, getting some showers there in Arkansas. Looks kind of like it's going to be dry here in Texas. And then another cool down for the 13th, 14th, and 15th through the southern U.S. here. Next system coming in on Tuesday, 14th, 15th. Then for the 18th and 19th, looks pretty quiet there. Next system coming in from the Pacific there. So looks like a pretty steady supply of systems coming eastward, some cold air coming southward in the wake of those systems, and not seeing much for severe weather on these charts. Okay, I think that's about it. One last look at the chat here. Okay, not much new here. Anyway, so I am going to wrap it up, and hopefully we'll see y'all tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and if you have any suggestions, let me know. And again, if you have any video you want me to air, maybe showing what the weather's like in your part of the country, definitely send that along. Head to weathergraphics.com/contact, and you can email that, and I'll try to use it in the webcast. Anyway, thanks you all for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.